largely I've overseen the external development out of our Santa Monica studio, and primarily I focus on PlayStation Network, finding new developers, new ideas to bring to our PlayStation Network service, which is downloadable games. Well, it works with them having a really good idea and a passion for doing it. And I want to trivialize that because that's the first filtration process. We're not very corporate. We don't say, here's the form, submit it, and we'll have somebody get back to you. Instead, we do a lot of outreach. When I first got started with PlayStation Network, there wasn't a network. We hadn't announced it, and yet I had to have content for when we launched it. So I did outreach to local universities, to developers that I knew. And kind of had two targets. One was, people that are brand new to developing games, because we wanted to, essentially give that fresh talent an opportunity to have a voice. And then secondarily, wanted to go to some established developers, because a lot of these big teams have very talented individuals that from time to time are kind of waiting, for the next point in their production to draw on their talents. Well, the incentive is the same as we give to independent developers. Now, I work in first party, so we typically fund the projects, 100%. And then on top of that, we pay a royalty for the titles once they're broken even. I can tell you, firsthand, I brought that game company from USC, students that I met. I teach a class there one night a week, and I brought them into PlayStation Network. They were early pioneers, with me. They set up their own company. It was a little over a year and a half ago. Their first game, Flow, is our top seller, so they're well into royalties on their very first game, which is better than I can say on my first game, and they're already working on their next game. And the team has swollen from the size of 4 to 8. So. We obviously believe in user-created content. We think it's cool. It's a neat way to express your creativity and your ideas with other people. But I think it is about entertainment. So if you really want to do a service to users out there, don't just give them the tools to make a game. Give them the tools to make a good game. And I think we're still a ways out from that as an industry. And so I think these tools are great for developers. They've already been available for developers, so that's not really news there. But I think in general, the industry kind of embracing this notion of, hey, how can we allow people to express their creativity and bring people into these virtual worlds and kind of play together? That's a neat thing. And so Sony, of course, is going to embrace that. We won't do it the same way that Microsoft has. We don't believe in just giving people a sledgehammer and say, there, go create a sculpture out of it. We try to give them the ability to start with the proper tools to make something beautiful from the get-go. I also think that bringing these games to the console is an important aspect of it, because when you're playing on the PC, it tends to be a more insular experience. It's you in your office. You're not necessarily interacting with other people, or if you are, it's over the net. But when you're in a console space, it's in the living room, and your family's there, and you're experiencing this together. And so the types of games that we're doing often invite people to just walk up, pick up the controller, and start playing along with. Flow, you can literally do that. I can be in the middle of a Flow game, and it's funny. One guy wrote to me, he says, I just bought, I bought this, beautiful PlayStation 3, and I got this great HD television, and my wife was kind of beating me up about, these purchases, especially around Christmas time, and I downloaded Flow. And she loves it, and she hasn't given me grief. And I think, boy, for $10 we just saved a marriage, It's definitely successful. I mean, I'm getting, it was an experiment. Sony's, definitely funding us to do more. And, we're careful. I mean, we don't want to be victims of our own success, because one of our early goals was to have not a big catalog, but a very high quality catalog. So when people think of Sony, they think of a great brand, they think of something that's stylish and classy, and we wanted the same thing in our games. We wanted to give you kind of unique experiences. Well, we can't do that with thousands of games, but we can do it with carefully chosen, bringing out just a few games at a time. Well, I'm going to tell you, definitely be on the lookout for Flower. That is the next game by that game company. It's absolutely beautiful. I mean, they put all that they learned into from Flow into this next game. So technically, it's very advanced, but it's also got a lot of emotion in the game. And I think they're starting to realize the original goals of what they wanted to do. So you should check that out. We have a lot of interesting expansions for both Warhawk and for Pain and Pixel Junk. We have, we just released Monsters. We have an expansion coming out for that. We also have Pixel Junk Eden, which is a very cool game. And Dylan Cuthbert and the guys in Kyoto, their goal was to create a game that could fit on the entire screen and that families could play together. And they've succeeded in that. And they've done that with 3 very, very distinctive and different games in a short time frame.